vibrate. That's why he brought me this deal.
Well, you know that
Yeah, but when it goes off, it lights up.
are they just I've seen his facility pictures. It looks like you see that.
It's totally different.
Jeff, you doing the first?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good to see you.
Hey, no marathon there today. I took all that Benadryl, I closed my eyes too long, I might fall asleep.
Okay, no one wakes him after that.
Please. You need that emotion, yeah?
It's tough. It's tough all over.
We are waiting. Our young lady that's going to receive the scholarship went to the wrong building, because we have so many county buildings down here around and all. But it's all right. We'll give her a minute to get here.
Curtis, give me your laptop.
Yes, sir. What you need?
I want to know how much money I spent on tires this year.
While you're looking at his, look at mine too. It's a bunch.
We've been spending a lot of money on tires, and we're curious to know what that number really is.
That shows how the sugar's posted.
Well, you're looking at, you might as well look at the other two.
It's been a while since I've been there. I've never stayed there. I've just been there.
Once we get that new computer system, we'll be able to look that stuff up ourselves, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Here she is, Nancy.
We have seats for y'all right up here in front. Come on in.
Not even guaranteed.
Michaela, do you have anyone else coming?
I noticed.
No, okay, we thought there might be another person.
Sorry.
All right, good. We're glad to have you all here this morning. Okay, good morning. It's 10:04. I'll call this meeting Wichita County Commissioners to order. Everyone please rise. This time I'd like to call on Commissioner Jeff Watts to give the invocation.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this opportunity to gather this morning and conduct the business of this county. Father, let your hand be with us, guide and direct us. Give us wisdom this morning, Father, we pray. We'd ask that you be with those that defend us, Father, our family locally here, the Sheriff's Department, and those first responders that put their life on the line each and every day for us, and those men and women that serve our country around the world, Father, be with them. Let your hand be with them, guide and protect them. Father, we ask that you bless us with some rain, Father, in the near future. And we know that you know best, and we just pray and ask for that rain. Be with those that are sick and not able to be up and around, Father. We just pray for healing blessings on them. Forgive us of our sins, and where we fall short, these things we ask in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner. Y'all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Take your seats, please.
Michaela, was that the first time you heard that?
It was one of the first couple, yeah.
Okay, let me ask you, your mom, come on up.
It's your sister.
I'm Woody Gosselin, glad to meet you. And you are her mother?
Yes.
Okay, well, y'all can pass for sisters, I swear. Okay, well, come on up, please. I'm asking some of our friends here to join us. We have representatives from Midwestern and from Benchmark Business Solutions. They're going to come up. We're going to have a photo time. Did you all want someone to help take a picture on your phone if you all too?
I would appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we can do that. I'll bet you, any one of those three sharp guys there can do it, or Tony, you ought to be over here with us. And all right. Michaela, it's my honor as past president of the County Judges Commissioners Association of Texas and a member of the Commissioners Court, and our representatives from Benchmark, and along with Tony's office out of Midwestern, they have contributed together to provide a scholarship that you and another young man jointly were awarded that scholarship. So it does get half. Charles, if you all looked at him, you probably couldn't figure out who was the better either. So we're really glad to have two fine young people from this area. They're going to go to Midwestern, and that was one of the conditions of the scholarship. Each past president kind of gets to make up what they want to do the year they're past president. So this is the only year I'll get to do this one this way. But I'm a graduate of Midwestern. I was former associate dean of students out there, so it means a lot to me. Scholarship award, congratulations to Michaela Obrightis. Obrightis, okay. I guessed, I went wrong. Will be the last time today. For being selected as 2018 recipient of the County Judges and Commissioners Association of Texas Annual Scholarship Award to attend Midwestern State University. This award is sponsored by Midwestern State University, Wichita County Commissioners Court, and Benchmark Business Solutions. Congratulations, Barrett. Would you like to say something, please?
Yeah, with going to MSU, I plan to major in education to start out as an elementary school teacher to help younger kids develop what they want to do and develop a real love for learning as I did.
Okay, great, great. We need more young, good teachers to come in that have a heart for it, so that's great. Mom, I guess you were very proud. Is there anything you'd like to say? Or?
I'm just super proud.
All right, well, great, great. Well, we're super glad. How else do we want to do pictures? Tony, you want to be in one since you're part of this? And come on up and
Show the.
all right, very good.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Now, as part of this, you have to stay for the whole Commissioners Court. No, you do not. Yeah, but congratulations. We're looking forward to it. Tony's office will make arrangements to show you all how they'll credit your tuition, however they do that. But all the money's in the bank, actually. The checks are all good, so they got it. All right. Thank you all very much. And I'm sorry, last week, but she was at work and didn't think, so she wasn't sleeping late or anything else. So we got here today. Y'all didn't be late. That's all right. No.
It worked out. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you all.
Very much.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
No, you're fine.
I don't have anything.
Right. If I could ask the court to take action on the consent agenda.
Judge, after having reviewed the consent agenda, I'd make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions on the consent agenda items? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 1 on general business, review and approve the regular bills for payment.
Having reviewed the bills on Friday, I would make the motion that we approve the regular bills for payment.
Second?
Any comments or questions on the bills?
Wish they were less.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Every week.
You keep pushing that. You need to blow out more birthday candles, I guess, to make that work. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Beechin, second by Commissioner Harvey. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 2 is discuss, consider, take action to award a bid for the Precinct 1 dump truck. Commissioner Beecham.
Yes, Judge, after a lengthy review of all the bids that we received and considering our maintenance, our current fleet, delivery times, et cetera, and how they responded to our specifications, I would recommend that we award Bruckner Mac the bid at $122,048.
Okay. What size bed did that wind up having on? How many yards? Is that
It's 8 to 10.
8 to 10 cubic yards?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you and Mr. Wall coordinate, you're going to pay a portion of that down and then the rest of it's going to be on a lease?
Yes, sir. Planning on using what I have remaining in our capital improvement fund, which is $54,000, I believe, is what I had set aside for that, and then pay the rest on lease.
How long term on that?
5 years.
Judge, Mr. Beecham had asked me to review those bids, and I spent quite a bit of time going through them, and there were lots of good offerings there, but I certainly agree with his findings, and I'll second that motion.
All right, thank you, sir. Any comments or questions by anyone in the audience? Yes, sir. Please step forward and state your name and who you're with.
Eric Borsak with Wichita Falls Freightliner. I was out of the office all last week, and I believe Marky spoke with my sales manager, Brad, on Friday. I think his comments to me when you were concerned about the extended warranty and time frame more so about getting in this year. I just wanted to assure you, it may be too late. We could get the extended warranty, and also there is a good possibility that we could get the M2112 this year. We know for certain the lower bid that I presented for the M2106, we can get, we got the line slots already for it.
Right.
The M2112, we could possibly get it, have a little more time. I just need to try to work some trades out.
Yeah, the big question was delivery time. We have to have it delivered by December 31st. And at that time, I was informed that y'all could not make that delivery.
It's a tough year for the trucking industry, obviously. It's a great year, but now, presents a challenge when you're sold out. So, but we did have line slots we could swap out with other dealers, yes, sir. But I just want to at least make that comment.
Okay, thank you.
You know, that is a good, bad problem.
It is.
And it's not going to get better with the amount of federal construction and everything else, which is
Yes, sir.
great for our roads.
It's ironic because even next year, we're already out. If I ordered a truck, and that's depending on the model, already out till mid next year. We haven't seen that do that since the 90s. It's amazing. But it's bad, but good.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to take possession of the truck before the end of the fiscal year, so we can apply the money that I have remaining on my capital improvement.
Understood, yes, sir.
So,
Thank you. Okay, any other questions or comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carried 5-0. Item number 3 is discuss, consider, or take action to eliminate the grandfather dependent health insurance plan benefit in the Wichita County Employee Health Insurance Plan. Commissioner Watts.
This is an item that we have debated and discussed for quite some time. And as we move forward on this budget year here, we want to forego the $100,000 expenditure on that line and come the end of 2019, stop the program altogether. I don't know how many years that will have been the program was in play, but it would cease and desist the end of December 2019. And then we'll try to offset at that point the costs going forward. We have not. We talked about it on Friday, how to overcome the $260,000 increase that's fixing to hit us for next year's health insurance. So we haven't gotten there yet, but this was one of the items that we wanted to go ahead and move forward with. So with that, I'd put that in the form of a motion that the program ends the end of 2019.
You and I have talked about this. I told you I was not in favor of it, and I feel a little bit, and I want to be sure everyone understands, I'm a benefactor of that program. One, I still have a dependent on it, and two, I've been employed here at the end of this year 29 years, and that program was in effect before I got here. And I feel like we're devaluating the long-term employees we have had here they're already paying better than 50% of that premium now in those areas, and then we're going to turn around and add this on to them, and it's almost like it's longevity pay that they've had that. They have picked up the increase in that premium since we changed that, and we set a ceiling on the county contribution. And so they've been picking up that increase. I also want to say I'm glad to say that you're thinking we won't visit the idea of employees paying partial payment on the increase to the basic employee health insurance plan.
No, sir, I didn't say that at all.
I thought you said we
discussed that very thing in an effort to try to understand how we're going to, because we don't have the money to pay $260,000. I mean, we can, and it's just a matter of time before we don't have any insurance because we won't be able to pay the bill. But we're going to have to come around that, and unfortunately, we're one of the last of the Mohicans that underwrite the entire amount of health insurance.
Not in county government, we're not.
I'm a benefactor of that, but no, county government as a whole, but nevertheless, the rest of the world do have those subsidies that employees pay, and it's the nature of the beast. We discussed it. No one liked it. But what do? I mean, do we cut 5 more people so we have the money to pay the bill? Or, I mean, what is the option? I'm certainly open for those options. But nevertheless, it is what it is. And it will only continue to go up, unfortunately, as well as all other things. It's not just health insurance, but everything that we touch and do here. We're talking about rock, and Willie gave us the example of just what we've experienced in the last 10 to 12 years of rock prices doubling. So, how do you pay those bills when our estimated, only if we maintain the current tax rate, our estimated revenue increase is only $1.3 million on a $50+ million budget? It will not toe the mark. It can't keep us afloat. We're just taking on 10 gallons of water and whipping out 5.
Well, we had you're looking at the $210.3 million increase we had in the tax base. At 1 point.
Yeah, 1.3, Judge, if we left the rate.
Yeah.
And it may calculate, as soon as Willie and Tommy's team are through working on that, it may calculate that the effective rate is less, depending on what we do in road and bridge, how to allocate that money. But nevertheless, it's probably, as it stood today, as we have it laid out today, it'd be a tax increase for us for the most part, because the effective rate will be a little bit lower than what we are
I appreciate what you're saying, but you kind of covered by saying all things generally seem to be going up every year. We are doing some things and working with the sheriff's department to increase our rate of revenue on federal prisoners. This will affect other people because we can't charge the feds one rate and others a lesser rate. So as that comes into place, those kind of things are going to help. Unfortunately, turning around the other way, which part of road and bridge income is based on, the effort of the legislature and the court decisions are to not let it be a hardship on someone to pay a fine. Well, quite frankly, it's supposed to be a hardship on them.
That's part of the plan.
That's part of the plan. It's punishment. You pay.
And Patty spoke to us about that on Friday and said, you know, that's the trend that we continue to see, and it's eroding our revenue.
And it has and will, and we're doing some things to try to, but I'm just, it's not good. And then the conference I attended Thursday and Friday, Judge Sons was there on mental health issues in the roles of the magistrates and in the role of the jail, and the amount of effort they're requiring us to prop up the state mental health system is not going to be inexpensive. I set aside $500,000 in general fund contingency for next year to implement. The sheriff had proposed a jail administration office, or we call it a pretrial release office. But as we see how the law changes as to what we're going to do, and we still have to deal with between now and 2020, September 1st, 2020, they will have hopefully put all of the requirements of the mental health issues in county jails in place September 1st of this year. I think, Chief, is that right? Is that what you understand?
Yes.
And then we'll know what we have to plan for in our future budget to deal with that. And that's going to be, we've had estimates of $200,000 to $400,000 for that cost. So as you say, things.
But you're not moving me toward.
I'm just saying. Okay, but now let's go to the other side. The pay raise that we propose for next year, it will be the first time in 4 years. And the amount of money you all discussed will take away, the employee actually probably won't see much if it's $20 a payday that's going to take out. That'd be $520 for the year. And by the time they pay taxes, retirement, and Social Security, they're not going to net much in that. And we just introduced this program. It's been effective. We feel like we're going to have some significant savings. And I realize we have to set aside some of that savings to pay the health reimbursement account that we've set up for helping people with those large deductibles that's coming out of that savings. But right now, our history on that says that's going to be less than $100,000 for this year unless something really changes. And generally speaking, the only thing I can say is we see that last 2 months of the year, more people seem to get medical care because they gradually built along towards those deductibles. And so it's, none of us have a crystal ball, but I'm just saying we ought to look at trying not to do that. That $100,000, Commissioner, that you speak of is significant, but I think it's worth our investment in that level of employee to do that. But
the one thing we've not been able to come up with in this entire lengthy discussion, and this has been a discussion that's been going on for, what, 3 or 4 years?
Yes, sir.
Is how to replace that funding. That's the one missing piece of the puzzle. And we've not had any real substantial proposals as to how to do that. In fact, just about everything you've mentioned has been the opposite of that. And I understand it. The one thing I do like, you mentioned the proposed pay raise. It is proposed, it's not done and not voted on yet. one of the things I do like about it, because it is a smaller amount than we like to do. It really is. But when you do it the way we have proposed it, it will be more beneficial to the lower paid employee than the higher paid employee from a percentage basis. And I think that's probably a good move in the times that we live in. I think that it's going to fit well in these times. So I do like that part of it. But once again, we're still struggling with the same thing, and that's how do we fund all this stuff?
And Judge, we spoke about that on Friday, and Mark made reference to that, you know, it's a bitter pill to receive a pay increase and then have a payment come out of that to subsidize health insurance, but at the same time, one, it beats not receiving a pay increase to have a health insurance come out of. And, you know, the amount of money that makes us whole is $20 a pay period per employee. That's, as Willie pointed out on Friday, that is a fantastic payment to have the kind of insurance that we have, and we're fortunate to be able to do that. And unfortunately, we're in a trend here that we're going to continue to see these costs until the thing rips or tears. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me, and I spoke to a buddy this morning, and we were talking, Commissioner Harvey doesn't mind sharing with you the cost of his wife's insurance. But, I mean, if you just have a working man's job out there making a living, you can't buy that insurance. You can't afford to pay.
Commissioner, case in point, there are people right now that are qualified in every way to retire that can't even consider it, because until you reach the threshold of 65 and you can get on the Medicare program, you can't afford to do it. I mean, I've run the numbers with several people that have talked about that, and it just consumes too much of your retirement to function that way. So it's changing people's lives, it's changing their careers, it's changing their long-range planning. I mean, it really is.
And as bad as I hate it, it still bears the instance of it is what it is. I mean, it's a cost that is not going away, and we can't close our eyes and make it change. It's real dollars to us, and what we discussed Friday was the fact that when we spend money that in those instances, and especially in large quantities, we can't replace the money. We're not at a cash flow position where we're able to sock back tons of it because our overage is high, or the tax levy is such that it allows our rate to collect more. We're not there. Maybe oil will change a little bit, and that's going to be some benefit to us next year. Hopefully we'll see a little of that, but you know, nevertheless, it's a hard position to be in when we erode funds that are very difficult to put back at this point.
We made pretty bold moves on our insurance last year that, from all appearances, are paying dividends right now. Putting the impetus back on the employee to file paperwork and do their part so they can have a buy-in to what our insurance is. I would really like to let that run the course and see where we're at without making any more bold moves to insurance, whether it's the $20 a pay or a paycheck or whatever. I think what we did last year is working, and we are seeing the benefit off of it.
We are seeing the benefit. The bold move comes from our insurance company that hands down over $250,000 price increase to us about the time we find an avenue to take that lowers our premium enough.
But we offset that with our move last year, so I understand we're getting an increase, and we'll continue to get increases every year. But we made that adjustment to help accommodate some of that every year increase, and I think it's working.
But it goes straight to my point that when the money is spent, you have no permanent improvement funding. You have no any reserve a residual funding because you're eroding any savings captured with costs that are coming in at a higher pace than what our revenue is. And
I
that's-
think we're talking about two different things.
Yes.
We're talking about employee participation, and we're off topic.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
You gotta pay for it.
You gotta pay for it, whether you're paying it out of your pocket.
I'm talking about we're off topic on the agenda item.
Oh,
Well,
It's another,
the agenda item we have to vote on today is whether to do away with, and I thought we were brought up, we're not really, I agree with that, into this other, but it was part of that overall discussion, and they really do eventually go hand in hand. But the issue today is simply determine whether we're going to change the grandfather.
It's the same obvious whether you take a macro or a micro.
Yes, right.
That's the difference. It all blends.
But that what I really want people to be aware of, that is being considered by the court as we try to figure out how to tax list and yet provide the things we need to provide. So, Commissioners, any additional comment? Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this matter? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Robinson, please come forward.
I just had a quick question. I just wondered how many employees are currently in the grandfathered-in system?
23, I think is the number.
And that 23 employees, that $100,000
Roughly.
savings will be, okay.
Yeah, it's 100,000 we pay and a little more that they pay because the employee now contributes a little better than 50% to benefit coverage.
27?
27.
and they're a varied picture, right?
Yeah.
There's some of those, Katie, that are family plan people, some are just spouse people, some are just children.
Children only, yeah.
Around 4,000 apiece then, is my math right on that? Somewhere, well, it would be, that'd be a little less.
Well,
I was using
the
27.
employees that are grandfathered and they only have one child covered, the difference between what the county pays for regular employees and them is $1,092 per year. So if the ones that just have one child, the subsidy is not as much.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
For the employees that have their entire family covered, that's where it's $6,893 annual difference.
That they pay or the county pays.
But the county pays in addition to, or above and beyond what the county pays for it.
But right now, they're paying more than the county is, am I right?
Well, right now, the employee pays $550.72 monthly, and the county pays $1,291 monthly. But that's including the $717 that the county is paying. So the county's actually paying $574.
Yeah, as I say, you were including the
Yeah.
employee in that, and I didn't, that didn't ring true. So if you exclude that, then I think that's,
So that would be $574 monthly that the employee would have to pick up if you just did away with it. So it's about $7,000 that they would have to come up with to continue to cover their family.
so just to be clear, Ms. Linda, we are voting to stop contributing to their plan so that they're on the same footing as every other county employee. And they pay their share just like every other county employee pays their share. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
That's what it's worded, that's what the agenda item is worded as. And what I'm saying is they would have, that would be close to $7,000 that they would have to pay, that you're moving.
Those people.
And a current employee that has the same plan, they have to pay that $7,000 already, right?
yeah, we have one or two of those, right? Or
Yeah,
something.
we don't have very many that have their entire family covered.
And the spouse payment are children, and one child is a fairly advantageous rate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, Judge. It is a burden for somebody that's receiving that benefit to have it removed. But it's also a burden to the taxpayers to have to pick up the tab. So the bigger the number, the bigger the problem is on both sides of the ledger.
But that column, and the plan has reduced from when we had better than 100 people on that plan.
It was a phase-out type deal.
And some of those that are on that plan right now, I think after January 1st, we'll net down to 23 on it. I think is where I got that number.
Where the number came from.
Yeah.
I mean, it is true that that number goes down every year because there are some employees that are retiring and some of their dependents are aging out. So I think it was 2 years ago that we had 40-something, and now we're down to, 27. So that makes sense that it could be down to 23 next year because of people leaving. So.
And once again, Judge, it is my understanding, correct me if it's not right, the contribution of the county is frozen at this point. It's not going up.
No, it will not go.
And that's the way it's been for several years. I want everybody to understand that we did take that measure probably since I've been on this court.
2010.
Remember the discussion it was?
I think that's when it was.
The cost has not been frozen, but the county participation has.
Yeah, that's why I said the employee picks up any addition to that dependent coverage that happens each year.
I wonder, we don't have, nobody's setting on those numbers as to what that premium was today. County premium for any of us that are county employees is $760, just I'm rounding, but at the time we did this, what was the premium for an employee of Wichita County?
140.
Anybody know?
It was under 200.
Karen, do you?
It was 140.
140.
I was thinking.
You remember it being 140?
Yeah.
Yes, when I first came to work.
Unreal.
18 years ago, is what you're saying? When this was?
30 plus.
Oh, he's saying when this was.
Oh, when.
In 2010.
Oh, it was 2000 when they.
Oh, 2000.
It was 2000 when they cut it off.
Well, we stopped adding.
But that was the individual employees' premium, if you guessed at it.
It's $750 now or whatever.
$750. I bet it was $400 or something.
I think it was about $450.
That's what I would venture to guess.
Actually, at one time we were paying 5, 10, and 15. Remember that deal on that? Remember? Then they cut that off, and then they eventually they capped it off.
Can you tell us what you're talking about on the 5, 10, 15 deal?
Well, come on up to the microphone.
I don't remember.
That was
I'm trying.
She's pleading the fifth.
Yeah. Remember when it was 5, if it's family, if it was 20, 15, and 5, remember?
I don't think there was any copay though, on the premium.
That was on the premium. That's what we were paying at one time on the premium.
To add family members.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm understanding?
If you had family members, they were, can't remember, I'm sorry.
You don't pay anything just as an employee, but if you have additional family members on it.
But then they went to that 5, 10, and 15 or something like that, and then they went to capping it off.
I don't recall that, but.
So our
they did
county
do that
employees
one time.
previously did participate in the.
No, it's for the family.
Yeah, for the family coverage.
Family or
What I'm talking about is
dependent
for the
coverage.
family.
But I don't recall
Don't you
that.
remember, it was I'll look it up.
She said, I'll look it up.
I'll look it
Okay.
up.
Okay. All right. Do you all want to take action on this or not?
Yeah, we need a vote on it.
Is it going in next year's budget since it's for the following year?
Yeah, it'd be the following, it would be, okay, it would be the 2019, everything stays the way it is.
Yes.
2020,
It's unfunded there.
it's unfunded in 2020. The idea was to give everybody a year's notice. And when I called Luann Yarborough to kind of see what alternatives were out there, and she said right now there are not. She said, oddly enough, the coverage that they would pay would be as expensive as if they picked this up and would be less. You could pay as much or more for coverage and not have what we have on this plan right now. So her advice is, she thought it would change somewhere towards the end of 2019. That's pure speculation on the insurance industry's part, that there might be some better plans.
What would change if that just doesn't?
The legislative action, but then who's paying for that? If it's gonna cost less, somebody's paying for it. Yeah.
Can we not communicate it without a vote? My thought is,
Okay.
that we're in an election year, we're in coming to court for, a future court for something.
Here is what Karen was speaking of. Let me just clarify. Nancy found it, Karen.
What was it?
In 2003, the employee premium for the county paid was $403. But it goes on to say that there's employee groups in full pay will pay the above rates for dependents. Half pay will pay half of the rates for dependents starting October 1 of 03. Entitled group is 5, 10, 15 per pay period will continue for another year.
Yeah. That's okay.
You know, that brings up what the judge is saying. You got a 35-year employee here. She's a walking dictionary. Those are the people we want to covet and keep. And I would like to see us just table this for another year. I understand the cash flow that Jeff's talking about. But our cash flow is pretty easily be solved. You know, we collect all the money, fines and fees, and then we send 95% of that to Austin. Now, it doesn't do any good for the county treasurer to walk down there in Austin and lobby, because they're just going to look at me and yawn. But what a great legislative group the county commissioners and judges have. You guys will be down there, and I'm not saying a 50-50 split, but by God, I think of 85-15, and I'll tell you, we'll have some significant dollars. But keeping 5% for the county, that is not even so.
Right.
So there's got to be some common sense still in Travis County. I don't want to bet on it. But I think just your group, okay. The other side is obviously the city's not going to do jack about bringing good industry into Wichita County. So we divide up, we've got a guy here, Henry Fortune, thank you.
Think of the shoes.
And, yeah, just develop a team, pick two companies and go out and lobby them. I mean, this is not hard to get our mind right. But it's going to take positive action, and certainly you guys are where it starts. And the income deal will be resolved if we get two companies in here that we don't have to replace certainty. But if we had two companies that hired 20, 40 people and solve some of our local challenges, then we'll solve our income problems instead of always wanting to fire people. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Brother Bob, we don't want to fire anybody,
Fire anybody.
period. That's not our goal.
I want you to know where I'm coming from. And so it's easy to,
You know, I'm not sure which of those two tasks is easier. I know I sign a letter of,
neither one of them's going to be easy.
yeah, I was going to say,
But it's going to have to get somebody instead of sitting here in Wichita Falls on Monday afternoon or Monday morning.
well, I was in,
We got to get out and do it.
I was down at the legislature 18 weeks last year. So,
Well, I know
there's a bunch of us that do that.
this weekend.
Yeah.
But we got to get something cooking.
And Bob, it's not something we're not asking for every session. I mean, hard. And
Well, that 5% deal, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, but we get the
law.
fine. We don't get the court costs. They get the court costs. But the problem is they're deteriorating by legislative and judicial action to reduce what we can fine and collect from people. But meanwhile, they expect us to spend money to supervise them during community service to make that, at least, they have to fulfill some of that judgment. So it costs money to have somebody, check on them and make sure they're really doing what they're bringing
Well,
back.
absolutely, and a lot of people watch this deal, I don't know why they're doing said, but the other side of it is, I got a good friend down there in Austin, and he's in that group. And he just told me, he said, that rainy day fund, that's in a passbook savings account. It's not even invested monies. I said, my God, that's, talk about a paradox.
But it balances the budget.
Well,
Well, I think Glenn Hager was talking about investing. I did hear that was in the.
well, and there are a number of those funds.
Coming out.
Right.
Good deal.
I was just gonna say, if y'all do make this decision, that you consider phasing it out instead of instead of just giving employees 1 year notice, perhaps like say, okay, we're gonna reduce the amount that we cover each year to actually phase it into their budget. Because I know this doesn't affect me. I'm not one of these employees, but if it were, and I had to come up with $7,000 out of my budget to cover that, that would be hard. I think that would really be hard for a lot of employees. And like Bob said, these are long-term employees. These are not, these are people that have wealth of knowledge, and we want to keep them as long as we can. So I would just ask that y'all consider. I know that's something y'all had discussed before, actually phasing it in instead of just cutting it off completely. So.
Well, let's put something different upon the scales of justice. These long-term employees, the highest paid employees here, okay? The lowest paid employees here.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
You wouldn't want to walk out on that limb.
No.
Hold up.
I have an employee that has 20 years of service, and she is not a high-paying employee.
Is she in the grandfather plan?
Yes, she is.
When did that start, 2001?
If you were employed prior to 2001, you were eligible.
No, she is not a high-paying employee.
Does the lady that makes the same money sitting next to her pay twice as much in insurance as she does?
That I don't know. But it doesn't
Well,
matter.
you should know that.
Long
Ms.
tenure
Moore, you should know that.
employees, does dedication not mean anything to y'all?
It does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
What about the person that's been here 19 years?
That's the other side of it.
And doesn't, I mean, you can argue this thing from any way. I don't think it has anything to do with loyalty or anything like that. That's not what it's about.
It does.
It's about budget. It's about paying for it. That's what it's about. That's what we do. That's the tool we have to work with. Not always pleasant, not always the best way to go at something, but that's what we've been charged with, and we took the oath to do that.
I'm sorry, you just spent how much on a dump truck?
Which has, what does that have to do with the discussion?
You gotta pay for it.
Well, we pay for things in your office.
Exactly.
I mean, do we want to talk about that? I mean, we can throw a number of things out of the
All those records we redid a week ago, we could have bought that dump truck.
I collect the money for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate I don't disagree with you, but, we just spent $20-something thousand to get the air conditioners working last week.
25.
Yeah, 25, and that's that's the start of it, not the end of it.
Correct.
But everybody, I think, wants it to work. I know the Texas Jail Commission does.
There was a suggestion made about maybe stretching that out over a period of time, and I know we talked about that. And Linda, quite frankly, it was, you want 5 years of misery or 1 year, and but it would be easier to try to budget that. But the thing is, your money's not going to change a great deal over the next 5 years. If we follow historically, pay raises are every 3 or 4 years, so it's eventually going to be a big problem.
Judge, if one's too short, 5 is probably too long.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably the extremes on, well, no, that's really not the extreme on the short end. The extreme on the short end would be phased out at the end of 18. I mean, that would be the extreme.
Yeah.
Now, that would be a shock to the system. There's no doubt about that.
But the only thing I'm saying is we need to either make the decision or say the decision's put off and not do anything. But I don't want to write a maybe into the budget preface and policy
No, I think
section.
it needs to be a clear and hard, fast line. The prime example, Karen Province has been here as long as anybody. Willie Wall, been here as long as anybody. Neither one of them received this stipend for longevity that.
But they both did.
Yeah. That's
Sure.
correct.
but nevertheless, it's not a benefit for a long-term employee. It's
So there are people who've been here a long time that aren't receiving benefit, I guess.
sure, and it's just the disparity amongst it all. I mean, we have 480 people, right at it, 480 people that manage, unfortunately, in this world we live in with high insurance costs. And, you know, one thing we have not been diligent with, and that's scrutinizing insurance. Our insurance is very clear about the fact that if there is spousal insurance to be had, they want you having it. And we have kind of looked the other way on that. And it's nonetheless a very expensive item for the county. And Linda, over those next 5 years, that premium then starts to slow. We're looking at this year, maybe it was a little over 100 grand, and then the next 4 were in the 95 range or 92. I think this is the projection sheet that y'all had done for us. And so we would forego this year and next year a couple of $100,000 expense, but you know, again, the problem is coupled with an increase of $260 on everybody's health insurance, and those costs are.
Yeah, that's the end of it. The problem isn't really on the other thing. We're just trying to find a way to fund the big side of the problem. That's the increase in general. That's what's killing us. But you know, Judge, I know we're getting down to the end here. I mean, I certainly could entertain some kind of a compromise. I mean, sometimes that's the best way to work things out. Sometimes it's.
Well, I actually thought we had entertained a compromise in all of our budget work sessions, and this is what we had agreed on.
That may be true.
Well, we hadn't voted on it because you can't.
Well, this is what we agreed to propose to the court.
Correct, but all those proposals can still be changed. There's nothing solid about it. Obviously, and I'm the one said to y'all, I said, I think you ought to get the misery possibly over in 1 year.
And we all agree.
And that sounds real
that
good.
1 year is actually 2 years away from happening, or a year and a half.
Year and a half. Well,
that's a pretty good head start.
Well, I also told you at the time I didn't agree with it, but
We understand that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean just because you don't agree with it, you don't understand the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the deal.
Wouldn't be the first time in government.
It is a challenge.
Won't be the last.
It is a challenge.
Linda, what would a phase out look like in your, just question?
Where is King Solomon when we get into this?
5 years. I mean, we had done that projection, like you said, that next year would, because we do know one employee that's retiring this year, so that there's one person coming off. But just 20%, you know, they pick up 20% of the cost or additional costs each year for the next 5 years. Something that would just help them ease it into their budget.
Yeah.
But Linda, in my mind, what are we doing for the 480 that can't ease it into their budget? What method of help are we doling out to them in order for them to make their insurance bill more palatable? Or maybe get children on insurance that don't have any today, or cover their wife that's at home?
That are also loyal employees.
What are we doing for that person? What are we going to do something over the next 5 years to help them the same? Maybe make it easier?
Yeah, we're not going to
Let's start paying 20%.
Okay, that's the difficult portion.
And I agree, it's a very difficult decision to make.
But you are taken care of, and that was the whole effort, and the change in that policy was to bring this down to an equal floor. And given the amount of time, so if you want it at the 20% a year, you do it over 5 years, you put that in, they pick up, you know, the increase cost plus 20% of this base. It's going to wind up being more than 20% each year because we know health insurance is likely to go up every year.
In reality, Judge, they were having the same discussion 20 years ago.
Yes, sir.
When you really get right down to it.
And when we came up with that, we were terrible for it, and it was based on the same things that Commissioner Watts has pointed out. That is outgrowing our ability to continue that benefit.
But all the employees that are not part of this, like when I was hired, I was not told that any of my dependent coverage that was not part of my salary package when I was hired. So I knew that just my insurance would be covered, and I would have, if I added my child, I paid for my coverage. The employees that we're talking about here, that's part of their salary package. So that's a pay cut for them. So it's.
But you have somebody sitting right next to them performing the same function a year less and is not receiving that benefit.
But when they were hired a year later, they were not promised that. That was not part of their salary package.
I understand.
Yeah, it was the package at the time. I mean, we had no other option to present but that. And it's evolved.
Phased out.
But pretty well at 5 years.
I mean, even 5 years would be really, really tough for people. I would think 5 years would be hard. I'm not saying that would still be hard, but at one blow would be even harder. And I'm just, I don't know. I'm not one of these people, but it breaks my heart to think that they're going to have to just come up with this all at once, and then maybe their spouses who need that coverage are not going to be covered. Their children who might have, be suffering from something would not have insurance no more.
Just like every other.
Just like every other county employee.
Right.
480 other county employees.
Hello, good morning. What is a rough time of year getting the budget talks, and benefit programs and everything else? I'm wondering, I am one of the employees that we're talking about. I think I'm one of 2 employees that has my family on the insurance plan. My entire family had dropped off of the insurance plan except for my wife, and I was glad to see that transpire, but then the Affordable Care Act came around and forced my children back on the insurance program, which is not something I voluntarily undertook. Now, I know...
Well, you had the option. You didn't have to put them back on it by law.
Didn't you and I talk about this back when, Karen, when... My understanding, if they were on the insurance, when the Affordable Care Act passed, my children went automatically. I didn't have any option in that, at least not that I remember. Because trust me, I'm pretty big into my children standing on their own 2 feet. I would cut that insurance out from under them pretty quick. I know that sounds harsh, but hopefully as this thing gets repealed, we can drop some of those children off. We talked about phased implementation, and I have to go back to when I was hired in 1998. And, for the first 2 years that I worked here, I paid 100% of my premium for my family. Then the second 2 years that I worked here, I paid 50% of my family's premium. And then on my 4th anniversary is when that full entitlement to those benefits kicked in as far as being an entitled employee. And so if you're going to do this with county employees, I certainly have no problem with that, okay? I agree with Ms. Castillo, this was part of my benefit package when I was hired on, and I remember saying that last year in budget talks. It will be a pay cut for me, but truth be told, and I'm not being sarcastic or arrogant when I say this, if I walk away today, I'm going to get a check for the rest of my life. I'm a vested employee. I'm past my retirement. I have very little interest in this whole deal. You're talking about a handful of employees that got a lot of years of service here at Wichita County. And the fact, I work with people who started after 2001. That was not part of their benefit package. I'm sorry that you didn't find a career early in your life. There's a lot of people that they looked at their retirement
You know, what is my life gonna be like 20 years from now? And that's why they came to work in county government. Okay, when I started here when I was 28, I was looking for work today, when I can walk away and have a check for the rest of my life in my retirement. I understand their position, they don't have the same benefit. They should have thought about their career earlier, pre-planning. You know, every time we have a group of new hires, I tell them the time to look at your future is today. It's not tomorrow. I think if you're going to take away the family benefit, for at least for the few employees that are on, we had to phase into it. By all means, phase us out of it. Instead of just saying, on this date you're done. You know, I spent 4 years planning my budget at home. You know, when I first started here, for the first 2 years I worked here, my take-home pay was $341.06 for 2 years. Okay? It went up a little bit for the next 2 years before the family benefit kicked in. But if you want to know what that was like for a 20-year employee, I have a printout sitting on my desk. Okay, you can see where those insurance premiums over the course of 4 years came out of my check and what it was like financially. I think phasing it in would by far be a better option. I don't know how many, if we can drop our dependents, by all means, I'll do that this year. I was under the impression I couldn't drop them until they fell off with the Affordable Care Act. Otherwise, it's going to suck to be done this next year.
Are you going to phase them out? Or?
How old are they?
Oh, I'm going to phase them out.
How old are they?
My youngest child is 22 on the insurance, and the oldest child on the insurance is 24, 25. I think she actually falls off this year.
26 is the age.
Yeah. The oldest one falls off. And the only one I'll have left on there after that is my youngest one. The other ones have already gotten married or had life events that have pulled them off of that stuff.
You know, Judge, if I might, first of all, let's be perfectly clear. We're not cutting anybody's retirement.
Oh, I'm not.
But anytime anything is said in this room, you read on the front page of the paper tomorrow morning. So let's just be perfectly clear about that. But that brings up a really interesting point, because that was discussed. That has been discussed. The reason it's been discussed is you've got X number of dollars to work with, and you want to make some changes. Guys, we discussed that in our talks last year and again this year.
We're talking about dropping the copay percentage.
I'm talking about where we pay the money. Do we modify our retirement plan to be less than it is now? That was a discussion point, and nobody was in favor of that as far as I can remember. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Yes, that was on the table. It's not today, but it has been discussed. And the reason it was discussed is do we continue to pick up the tab on the health insurance? Do we modify the retirement? Everything is on the table. I just want everybody to understand that. That's not in concrete. That's something to be, so we've got to be very careful how we do it. So what I'm hearing you saying is that's a much more important part of your benefit package than the health care insurance for dependents. That's what I heard you say. Maybe that's not what you said.
There are only 2 reasons that I came to work with Wichita County, and 2 reasons only: a retirement and health care.
Okay.
All right, before I came to Wichita County, I was making $43,000 a year, and I don't know if y'all remember what it was like in the late 90s. $43,000 was good money.
You bet.
I took almost a $19,000 pay cut, came to work at Wichita County. I was working out at PPG, but the benefit package was better here. In 2003, I turned down a job offer in Mark Burnett because of my benefit package here at Wichita County was better. So my entire career, every decision has been, am I going to be able to buy groceries when I'm 70, and how do I take care of my family?
So do I hear you say that retirement deal is very important to you? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
My retirement's exceptionally important, but I also know that if you change it today, I'm not affected, because everything that I've already put into it, you have to pay out at 2%.
Yep.
So.
No, you would be affected if it was changed to that.
Future,
From the future on, I mean, that is an effect, yeah.
But I also am very constantly mindful that it can change benefit package so much that I no longer want to be here.
Once again,
14 days from retirement.
that's not on the table, we're not voting on that, but it is part of the discussion.
Well,
And everybody needs to understand that that's part of the discussion.
you know, benefits, we face generational issues now with young people coming into the workforce. They're young, they're looking at the here, they're looking at the now. And from the day we bring them in the door to the day that they quit here, our emphasis really should be on how are you going to buy groceries when you're 70. You know, when you're 21, 22, 23, your retirement, your health care is not a real big priority on your plate. That doesn't become really, really important to you until you hit your probably late 20s, early 30s.
Or 40s.
If you didn't plan well when you were young. I didn't start planning for my retirement until my mid-20s. You know, I woke up one day and said, gee, my retirement's not very good. I need to start looking at that now. The tough decisions, budgetarily speaking. You have 23 or 24 people left on the vested plan. That number is falling, I would think it's falling pretty rapidly. There's a lot of people that retire. I think we had, what, 2 or 3 retire at budget time last year. I don't remember the exact number. But your vested employees are falling off. And, you know, we're left with 2 choices. Stay the course, which, from my perspective, is what the board voted on in 2010, when they said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to pay this amount of money until these employees fall off, and any increases in that, it's on the employee. Equitable terms, I understand that. But as that pool has gotten less, now the county wants to go back and say, well, this is costing us too much money now. You're not spending any more money now, you're actually spending less now than you were 2 years ago because people have dropped off of that plan.
In that one area.
In that one area.
Our expenses have just went through the ceiling in a lot of other areas.
This is two budget years in a row where your entitled employee groups have, your entitled employee group has come up here in budget discussions, and I'm not a politician, I don't even like to look anymore here, okay? It almost feels like we're being penalized because we made sound financial decisions 20 years ago when we came to work. I understand your budgetary duties there, okay?
So what's the solution?
Continue with what you agreed in 2010, Commissioner.
Yeah, but
That wasn't 2010,
No, it wasn't
it
2010.
was 2000.
What year did they cap the family co-op?
2010, I believe.
2010.
2010.
All right, so you're paying the same amount of money, actually less today than you were in 2010 because over half of those employees have fallen off of that plan.
Well, what is the entitled program that was existing on this stuff Nancy just sent me in 2003? Who was an entitled group in 2003?
Well, it was about 100, wasn't it, Judge, when it started?
In 2010, when you capped co-pays on how much the county would pay, you said if you're a vested employee and we're capping the cost at this, and then the employee will pay every increase after that. That's when you made that decision within 2010. So every year since 2010.
So what I hear, no, I mean, that's not right. Nancy just sent me this court order from 2004 where Bill made the motion and Pat seconded that employees would bear that cost.
In 2010 is when y'all didn't let employees change who their dependents were. So if they got divorced and remarried, they could not add their spouse onto it. It was capped at whoever they had covered at that time.
So up until that time, they were coming and going?
They could, yes.
So we cap the number of people, but not cost.
The cost was capped before that.
Yeah, cost was before that, then we had.
Two separate actions, one capped cost, the other one capped number.
If you had been up here with your family on and then you dropped them off by divorce or whatever, you couldn't re-add them and be covered under the grandfather. You had to take, next level down.
From the original time this program came into being, we have made adjustments on it periodically.
Yes.
We're just making another adjustment. It's time again.
Well, from what I gather, Commissioner, you're actually debating doing away with it. That's not an adjustment, that's a termination.
That's the ultimate adjustment. But it has been changed. It wasn't a guarantee moving forward. It's been changed throughout time. At least 2 occasions that we know of right here.
You know, I'm pretty active about paying attention to Commissioner's Court. I'm one of those people that stay silent in the background and just kind of watch and wait. I don't recall too many employees coming in here, vested employees, your group of employees that are entitled, coming in here complaining about their health insurance increases every year. I don't think y'all very seldom ever hear from those people. We don't. We understand that we have a benefit, okay, and we understand that the cost is out of control on that, and I think we understand that, like inflation, it has to be paid, but now you're actually considering taking action to do away with that benefit. Stay the course. If you got to phase it out over 4 years. You know, by 4 years from now, that group of 23 or 27 would probably be down to less than 10. These people are falling off.
And we would have spent an additional $300,000-$400,000 on top of what we already paid. That's the whole deal.
Well, okay, let me try, let's move on something. I'm gonna make a motion, you all can second.
Judge, you've got a motion on the floor.
I do, I don't have it down.
By me.
I don't have a second on it.
We have a call for a second.
No, you want a second?
What exactly was the motion?
Yeah,
The motion was to, at the end of 2019, conclude the program with the stipend for those ones that currently receive the stipend on spousal or family insurance, the 27 in the mix.
So a 1 year phase out.
Yeah, 1 year phase out after this year and next year, bring it to a halt for the year 2020. We would not budget the money for that additional.
I would, there isn't a second to that right now. I would really, what I was going to propose is we take a vote on the 20% plus the increased cost over the next 5 years and do it that way.
20% per year.
20% per year plus the increase in the cost.
Yeah, Judge, I'm not in favor of that. This program has cost the county millions, not $1 million, millions of dollars since it started. It should have been cut off when you changed the plan to begin with, and it wasn't. And it's cost millions of dollars, which we don't have and which we need. I mean, 80 cents glooms on the horizon. You may not be here, but I intend to be. When Linda's coming saying, guys, I don't know what you're going to do, but your expenses are exceeding your revenue. She's going to say that to us. That time is coming. So we either have to be extremely proactive and take hardcore measures, because in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to encounter that we have no ability to fund our expenses. That is coming. It's not, it might come, it might happen. It's coming. Bottom line is it's coming. Prime example is our $10 road and bridge fee for 2010. You know what kind of stuff I could buy with $10 license fee in year 2000 compared to the year 2018? That's our problem. And unless we get proactive, not reactive about assessing the situation after it's already happened to us, but be proactive. I don't want to hurt these people. I have no intentions of hurting these people whatsoever. They need to realize that they have an extremely, extremely good health package as an employee of Wichita County, but we can no longer bleed the way we're bleeding. We can't do it. That is that simple. It is just that clean and clear, and unless we start immediately, which we already did, we removed multiple positions last year in an effort to reduce our overall expenses. Doesn't keep 80 cents from coming, and it doesn't keep our expenses from exceeding our revenue. It just prolongs that from happening. This is the same exact scenario.
And I think you can schedule that, or you can take a rather serious blow on your long-term people. I haven't, while none of us like it, I agree it needs to change. But I think you need to make it change at a rate that is reasonable and affordable to those people and to the county.
Judge, this was your plan. This was your plan, and every one of us commissioners, after you proposed that we end it at the end of 2019, and now, just like for the last 3 years, you have fishtailed trying to get away with this change in this health care, and it needs to come to an end. It needs to stop, and the county needs to quit spending money that it doesn't have to fund this program. I hate it to say that nobody's leaving because we're not paying their spousal insurance, because guess where they can go to get that done at? Nowhere. Where can they go to get half of it done? Nowhere. No one's going to leave. I hate it that we have to do it. Wish we could give Willie Wall a stipend in cash for that each pay period. But we can't do that. It is just common economical sense. That's all I'm talking. Economical sense. We have to be proactive. We can't be sitting around to be reactive at some point in time. And again, I say we have spent millions since this change, and we had an entitled program that has fed itself off for now 18 years or ish of benefit. And enough's enough.
I don't agree. And, that fishtailing of mine has fared this county pretty damn well. And how it's come out financially, how it's rated, and how we have guided this court and worked together and done it. So I take a little exception at that terminology.
Well, I'm just telling you, every time this issue's come up, you've had the same, you wanting to pass the football and no action. We made no resolution last year, and we should have done that last year.
Well, you know what? There's certainly more than one vote on here for it to do that. So if y'all want to do that, I told you 1 year, and okay, if I'm backing up on that, I've rethought it. I really honestly, I think the 5 years, but take the vote, set the policy, and move forward.
That's what I'm trying to do, and you've got a motion on the table.
I haven't heard a second yet.
Second.
Any other comments, anyone in the audience? Okay, motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Harvey to do away with the grandfathered dependent health care program effective at the end of December 31st of 2019. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. 2. Thank you. Vote carries 3-2. All right, good discussion. Okay, we're down to public comment. Anyone in the audience? Commissioner Beecham.
The only thing I have is Precinct 1 is out at Sprague Annex building, temporary parking lot for the visitation, so we're not allowing people to park in that area today, so.
You want to do it to it?
Bring us some rock or some.
Oh, chips.
Well, not chips, millings. so we have a place to put visitation parking. Other than that, did have a little change in the LAC project. Grand opening, or not grand opening, groundbreaking. Thank you, I'll get there. Groundbreaking has been put off an additional at least 2 weeks because of the way the bids came in. They're having a difficult time sorting through the way it was bid and getting a good number together. So we don't have a date in stone yet to when the groundbreaking will be.
Thinking August or?
It was looking like they wanted to do it the week of Hotter than Hell, so everybody will either be out or dealing with that. So probably the week after that, first week of September.
You know it's open weekend for dove season.
There's going to be something.
But you have Monday holiday on that and all that. You might take a look at that. The big thing the commissioner and I both pushed on that was we wanted that guaranteed maximum price well gone through and set. Didn't want to have groundbreaking and someone say, well, how much is it going to cost? Well, they're still working on that. Well,
no, we want that hard number.
We want the hard number.
So
and, you know, so that's the most important thing to get from there, because there will be, obviously there's contingency money, so we already know a hard number is not as hard as you want it, but we're going to make sure we don't have a lot of unforeseen things in that.
No, the parking lot's done, the landscaping's in. We had a few issues with some shrubbery that'll be changed out. Fence is in the process of being complete, switched from razor wire to barbed wire. And should be wrapped up with that this week.
Mark, what about the other fence on that parking lot fence, that portion of the fence? Aren't we taking it back to the corner of the building there?
Yes, I've asked that be completely removed. It looks so much better without it, and it really looks good now that the landscaping.
Yeah, it does.
It completely changed the whole front of that building.
Is the Vernon College parking area, is that job 100% done or not?
Yes, other than removing 2 bushes and changing them for something.
So we've got all costs in on there?
Should have.
Because we need to put that together and then revise our lease with Vernon College.
We haven't walked the punch list yet, but yes, the job is complete.
Okay. Okay. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Commissioner Harvey.
Well, you notice this big old trailer sitting on the north side of the courthouse. It's the reason why we still have prisoners in our downtown jail. The chiller was failing rapidly, and we got a temporary chiller out of the Metroplex to come up. It's quite expensive, but not near as expensive as having to move our folks out of downtown. We are currently in the search of a new chiller, but different brands, not just gonna sole source something real quick, trying to get some different options. Called the judge and he allowed us to move forward on an emergency basis. I think that we're still in an emergency basis because we only have 30 days to make a choice. I've asked for different brands of chillers like Carrier, York, and just like that. If they have what's available, do they have our tonnage, and how quick can we get it? And that will help us make a decision on how we need to move forward.
If I can add a little bit to that discussion, Wednesday we have a meeting with Amoresco, who is doing our energy audit, looking at replacing all air conditioning, HVAC units, controls, everything. We'll know a little bit more about that project on Wednesday, but as of right now, it looks like the numbers are good to proceed with that project. So I'm excited about that, and we'll work. Whatever we do down at the jail, we'll work within that project. So
that'd be good. What that means is if we do our contract with Amoresco, then the $100,000+ that we're gonna spend on a new chiller, could be included in the financing of all of the efficiency stuff that we're doing.
Or it'll just come out of that project, either way. Either way, it's gonna be money spent, either way.
It's gonna be part of it
It's gonna be
anyway.
part of it, so.
And
It will greatly reduce our expenses.
The only thing will be out is the cost of the temporary chiller, because that was an unforeseen expense. But we are working toward making that happen, getting all the controls and units replaced.
Commissioner, thanks. You really pulled one out when you called me, told me what you'd worked out on that temporary chiller unit. So that was, despite the cost, that was pretty good. And you even got that down from the.
Started out at 31,000 and we got it down to 24.
Yeah. So, okay. Commissioner Mahler.
Well, along those same lines, I want to say thanks to Commissioner Harvey for jumping on that. I was in the process of leaving town for a few days when all that happened, and little did we know we were going to be facing the hottest week of.
We didn't know. We did not know that.
We did not know that, and it would have been terrible. And I appreciate Commissioner Harvey jumping on that, as I was not in a position to handle it, and he did a great job. And that's kind of the way this court functions. Everybody jumps in, helps out, and is always backing everybody else up, and I like that. I like to work like that, and we do that numerous times. And I want to say thanks to him and the rest of this court for doing that. And next thing is guys, these volunteer fire departments are wore out. Give them a break. Do everything you can to not do anything that would start a fire. They are wore out, and they need a break. So good Lord will bring rain in His time, not ours. It's coming, and it's going to be better. But boy, hats off to these fire departments. Both our professional firefighters and our volunteers. They've done a great job last few weeks. That's it, Jeff.
Mary, on the same note, I talked to the Electra Volunteer Fire Department, and in the last week, they've blown 9 tires.
Yeah, they're just,
and
they're ragged.
They're $300 a piece, and it's just, it's killing them.
Yeah.
You know, so.
What are those all sizes?
They're actually 920s and 1020s.
Yeah.
It's about 2 sizes that they have. And I've asked the sheriff if they could look on the 1030 feet program and see if they could try to help locate the volunteer fire department some tires. And they've done that in the past and gave up 4 or 5 tires here and there, but
helps a lot.
It really helps the volunteer fire departments a lot.
We are, and certainly check with Pete, and Sam can help us on this, but on that order, I had told Pete Sam had hit me up about receiving, they're servicing a fleet here or in the North Texas area that runs a similar tire that we're running pretty regular. They're changing them.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to see if we would take those, and the good ones at least that don't need to be, and he said it would be a way to keep our dates fresh on stuff, and so we may have some, but then I'm taking that they're 11R25s is what I'm thinking, but
24s,
24s is what they are. So,
but the old grass trucks, 920s and 1020s.
Okay.
So if anybody has any good tires, volunteer fire department sure do need them.
Fisher Watts, anything else?
we are wrapping up. The equipment sheds are done, did a great job, looked great, extremely stout, so excited about that. The guys have diligently stayed hooked with the help of everyone else. We have close to 10 miles of chip seal, and we're working today on that project as well, and then they'll move over to the south side of 367 and start some in there. We're going to have hit 15 miles by the time we're through, and it's just a hot job, and gosh, we've had our share of bobbles that happen. That equipment gets hot and it's don't want to be out there no more than anybody else, so it's sure been a project, but nevertheless it's coming together, and it's going to be real nice, and we've made some good progress. That's everything for me, Judge.
Okay, thanks, sir. The only other thing I had to throw out to you all, you know, I've looked around, we keep getting asked about burn ban or not, and, you know, we could do that under an emergency order. We're now below, actually, the Keach Byram. We're in the area on it. We could defect the order, but I'm not sure as, you know, while we've had fires, we've been pretty fortunate, and people seem to be doing it, and when you know, we put the burn ban in, we do cause quite a bit of imposition on individual rural homeowners that, you know, have burn barrels and do that. They have the same liability whether there's a burn ban on or not. It's just they shouldn't do it, but we know in practice they probably continue. And, you know, but I can certainly sign that emergency order, put it in place, and do a similar thing on restriction of people doing work out in rural areas to require the spotter, require fire suppression stuff. And, you know, I was just looking to see what you all thought or wanted to do on that. But, you know, we've had relatively good luck with cooperation working on it so far. So
I think we've got more support now from Forest Service and other agencies than we've ever had, and that's good, and that's been a huge help. And I mean, I've never been a huge fan of burn bans because I think the major benefit of a burn ban is just bringing it to everybody's attention. When you say there's a burn ban on, people pay a little closer attention. I think that's probably worth more than any individual ban or anything. The spotters are certainly important. A lot of fires get started. I mean, I've been out welding myself, and before you know it, you got the whole country on fire. Didn't even know it was happening. Yeah. And you just got to have a spotter out from under that helmet watching, and it's vitally important. But right now it's a good time to do welding projects indoors.
So in my head, last questions. If there's no burn ban on, and somebody is out there welding or cutting, building fence, whatever, and they start a fire, then we can run out there with our volunteer fire departments and we can put it out. And because they didn't have a spotter, because they didn't have a fire extinguisher, we can't give them a ticket for doing that.
not for that.
But if there's a burn ban on, and you say that you gotta have a spotter, you gotta have some way to extinguish a fire, and they get out there and neglect the responsibility, then they can be fined for not adhering to the burn ban. Is that correct?
That's correct. However, if they have that and they let things burn, they have insurance of some sort that can be filed on also.
You're civilly liable in either condition, in either situation.
Well, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, there was a farmer cutting hay and had a spark, bearing, we don't know.
Yeah.
And he just continued to cut. The fire was fine, and he went down, made an L, went way back down. By the time he got back around, the fire was substantial. And he doesn't have liability insurance for that. He has liability insurance on his equipment, but he's not liable for the fire or the damage that the fire caused because nobody knows how the fire really started.
He didn't start it by negligent.
He didn't do anything negligent.
Yeah.
You know, he just
And
cut
they
it.
don't require spotters on farm equipment.
Exactly.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
there's instances out there where
nothing's,
nothing is,
stuff happens.
that's right.
They got bumper stickers.
Well, who's liable when two high lines blow together and start a fire? I mean,
Well, visiting with KMA Fire Department last week, they indicated that all the fires we've had in Wichita County have been stuff that the burn ban would not have prevented.
that's the point.
And then things like dragging trailer chains and,
Well,
You can have a flat.
that's a huge plus for our people.
yeah.
There are
Our people are doing the right things.
I think we've got good awareness, and to me, that's the most important part.
That's the most important part.
is bringing
That's
awareness.
why I asked instead of just, because Lee, we're going and I visited over the weekend on whether, and there's not a strong recommendation coming from there because of exactly what we've said. We've had good public support. And
Just try to get everybody to enforce their own.
It's just some of Ron White's friends, if they show up out there, we can't do anything about that.
And we have input from our
Rural chiefs.
rural chiefs.
That's it, I deal with the chiefs myself.
And so far, there hasn't been a planner to do
The
it.
only one I've heard of, Wichita West, that's wanting one, the last time I visited. So.
Yeah, I'd certainly yield to the chiefs.
I think I would, I think that's
They deal with it.
absolutely.
We have a meeting coming up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We can sure poll them if we need to.
Well, I'll have Lee and his folks do that. We do have the regular monthly meeting coming up, and
And those guys are good about contacting us, if
Yeah.
they get something on their mind, so it's not a problem.
all right, is there anything else in the general budget stuff that we need to come back to this afternoon, or anything else on this? Anybody have anything?
Do we know, will we learn, I mean, I know it's Friday since we visited, but have you learned anything over the truth and taxation stuff about Road and Bridge? Taxes, is it not a part of it that we know for sure?
Just as we discussed, we have preliminary effective tax rate.
Well, I sent you all also the stuff from Jim Allison. None of those things that, and Judge Allred told me the other day that still he thought the tax base was different for the road and bridge tax, but Jim Allison, I sent you all that over the weekend that he responded that no, everything's, yeah. And that was voted in 1954. We didn't have an election to repeal it, so it's still in place. It's just a matter of how we maneuver with the funds, and we need to probably get thoughts together as soon as we get the exact computation of that from the tax office. Then we need to look at.
Do we know our effective rate, Willie?
Preliminary, we've got figure.
What is that?
.642122. Total taxable value, $6,804,927,862.
So $6,804,688.
$6,804,927,862.
The chief appraiser statement says net taxable is $6,880,555,202. That was the one she sent out last week. I think that was the previous one.
Well, that's one, this one, so.
She signed it and dated it July 16th.
Right, I have that.
Okay.
But just for this conversation, Willie, on
Certified value, $6,880,555,202.
so that's going to lower your effective rate slightly.
It's adjusted for tax increment financing and the addition of rolling stock. Various adjustments.
But I guess the point I want to make here with this is if the number, let's just say the effective rate was .642122, okay? Given our current rate, if we move the difference into Road and Bridge to make the
the county tax be .642122, we would have no tax increase.
Well,
We would set the rate at the effective rate at that, or we would set the rate would be calculated to the effective rate for M&O INS.
you gotta go back to the definition of effective rate, and that's basically to raise the same amount of taxes that you raised in the previous year. So,
But it
there's
is,
no gain.
is R&B outside?
You get the kicker on the new value.
Well, but what I'm saying is if, the numbers that we just discussed, knowing what our rate is today, and the effective rate is .6421, if the difference in this instant would be a penny and a half. If a penny and a half was in R&B and 642122 was in M&O INS, would we have a tax increase?
Yes. Yes, we would. We would be generating additional revenue.
Well, what I'm trying to say is there are two different things. You've got the special road and bridge tax,
Mhm.
and you have the truth in taxation that covers the constitutional funds. So there's two budgets that you're dealing with. You wouldn't have to advertise a tax increase, but you would have to educate the public that you're instituting a tax for road and bridge, which is in addition to the effective tax rate.
So my understanding that if you bring that R&B tax on board, no matter if it's offset from what the general tax rate is, that is an increase in itself. Because right now it's not existing. That's the way I'm understanding. It's terminology more than numbers, in other words. Because that is an increase of 2 cents in that category. Even though you may be reducing the other one 2 cents, you've still got a tax increase in this category. I mean, is that basically what we're
But
talking
you
about?
don't have to advertise it because the public, voting public has already spoken to it back in 1954.
Right.
So we wouldn't have to advertise a tax increase under that example.
It's
Smoke and mirrors.
the same, it's the same property tax rate.
Well, sure, but I mean,
Smoke and mirrors.
I totally understand that it's the same rate, but try to read that in the paper and make heads or tails of it. I mean, the common person has no clue of what the mathematics is that we post today anyway. But I'm just trying to understand what is or isn't doable in road and bridge that would, because certainly not a tax increase in the amount of rate that we're charging. The rate would not change. It's just,
But
there is some more value out there.
The taxpayer would have an increase. Whether you change the number or not, the taxpayer would have an increase.
No, not necessarily. I wouldn't. My
If
taxes,
your valuation went up.
yeah, if my valuation was high.
The people, if they didn't go the effective tax rate, those people would have an increase.
No, if we kept the tax rate exactly the same,
And at a penny and a half at Road Bridge, they would have an increase.
no, my taxes at my house
Yeah.
didn't increase. So whatever I paid last year, I'm gonna pay again this year. Same exact thing.
Okay?
Whether we put 2 cents in road and bridge or we don't put nothing in road and bridge, I'm
Oh,
paying the same.
Son to shun, don't we?
My
What we're talking
value has-
about is the value went up,
The valuation.
new homes, new businesses, etc.
Or old homes, or whatever, that got an increase. The new money that Willie's talking about, that's not affecting you. You get that without charge, but the old money, that the house that was worth $10,000 that went to $12,000, that's the one that you're going to have to offset the effective rate. You don't have to offset it, but that's what the calculation
If you had a $100 valuation last year, and you charged $2 tax on that $100 valuation, this year you have a $110 valuation, and you still charge $2 this year, you have a tax increase.
Yes, paying more.
That's a tax increase.
That's right.
That's right.
That's how it works.
That's right.
But what we're doing is offsetting that $2 would be $1.80 in the general fund and 20 cents
In the road
in
bridge.
the bridge. So it's still $2.
Yeah.
Still the
But
same-
it's that
still the
tax-
same dollar.
Yes, it is a tax increase.
Right.
Yeah, it's taxing.
Right.
And see, Lee, there were instances, and that's what has typically happened, and the court has done that in the past. Not all entities do that, but it was a practice for a period of time here that the effective rate was the rate, or it become the rate. So that's why we would see the rate, this year be 52, or next year be 51. And because it was raising the same amount of revenue for a lesser rate.
We had 2 years that we had.
Sorry.
I thought that was a taxpayer. But we had 2 years, we lowered it 6/10 and another year 4/10. And nobody appreciated it. Now if we'd gone up 6/10 and 4/10,
You'd hear all about it.
but the thing that we need to work on this when we get those figures next week, try to get this tied down, is we started out talking about the $800,000 that comes out of general fund to road and bridge. And Willie has said you probably need 2 cents of tax value to really replace that and leave it in general fund and meet the needs of road and bridge. There was some discussion about taking that 2 cents out of the general fund rate, and I said I didn't think that was a good move given the other expenses that we've added, pay raise, and 5 additional jailers. And we're still pretty much in line with what we normally spend on capital improvements. We know we're going to gain some back as we pay off the 2 or 3 notes we have, one being that 7-year tax and anticipated revenue note. Those, we're gaining on those. We're about halfway through with all that. So that's going to be it. I just think we really need to think over, and I did a little bit of work on trying to come maybe halfway on that. And that's where we need to make some consensus next week and try to get, so Willie and I can finish up the stuff on the budget and get it filed. And we still have the opportunity after it being filed for 2 weeks to come back and have the tax vote and change and adjust. You just can't raise the taxes if you didn't advertise. And our traditional thing has been to advertise up to the 8% cap or something that we felt comfortable, and then come in less than that as we revise things.
Are those appraisal numbers now, is that permanent?
That's a certified roll.
That's certified roll. But
Yes, sir.
we had estimates, but this is
Yes,
certified. Okay.
that's certified.
We got something to work
That's 6.88 is certified.
Okay.
And, that's really a nice, that's far better than we started out, because we were going the other way. So that part's good. I did want to share with you all, we got a letter from Bill Stewart, who's the Wichita County archivist, and he said, thanks for the air conditioning. It's really made life much more pleasant over there. And there's a real nice display they suggest we come over there and look at, so at any rate. So
The aerial display?
it's, what do you call that here? A view from above 100 years of aerial photographs of Wichita Falls. That is a neat display.
The judge had to address that, and that's one of the reasons why we're pushing so hard on this HVAC deal for the rest of these facilities. That thing slipped up on us and it shouldn't have happened the way it did, but it was a comedy of errors, and as much as almost a perfect storm of supply, and we couldn't get it when we thought we did, and we never meant for that to be down that long, but it's just the way it worked out, and that's one of the things that prompted us to really take the bull by the horns on this other deal and stay on top of it. It's important that we do, and that we're moving in that direction.
Okay. All right.
Judge, before you start, I do have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I just got an email from Marie at the city. She has to do her election stuff now. Our polling locations, we're good, right? We're not changing, we're good.
For the map we discussed last week?
Yes.
And if you're good with them?
I'm good with them.
Okay.
The one party chair that was here seemed to be good with it. So
The only thing we have not done is gone to each location and done the ADA and verified finally with them, yes, we are going to use you. Because
she has to do her order like Thursday.
When you say ADA, do you know what those requirements are?
I have a big old packet.
Do we need, I mean, is there issue with the party chairs at all? I mean, do they need to look at them?
Well, it's nice to have them look at it, but if you had notified them and they couldn't bring themselves or send somebody else, I'd say, you know, that's unfortunate, but.
I need to know if we are required to provide a handicap bathroom. I need to know that.
I do not believe so, but I will.
Thank you very much.
And the other thing is, we did have a gentleman today looking for a water fountain. Do we know when this water fountain down here is going to be fixed?
Is it not on?
No, it is not on. The restrooms are still not usable. The water fountain is not on.
The third floor not?
Third floor is being posted, not working for.
I sent Matt an email and asked him to get to the bottom of what the holdup is. I don't know about the water fountains now. I didn't ask him.
And the rest.
Well, Bob and Matt, they've been talking that there is toilet paper dispensers missing in the bathrooms, and Bob's got them shut down. I don't know for sure what the.
I don't know, but
so it's not a plumbing issue?
No, it's not a plumbing issue. I don't know in this instance.
I don't know, but there was a gentleman looking for a place to get a drink of water. And the only water fountains I know of, and there may be some somewhere else, is the one down here and one up on the third floor. But if neither one of those are working,
Where is the water fountain? Do we have a handicap water fountain?
On third floor, yeah. And then down here also.
Down here, I know.
I'm not sure about third floor.
I'm not sure about the third floor.
Where is this one here?
Right between those 2 restrooms.
Oh.
There's one.
Aren't you the project?
Gosh.
Yeah.
I mean,
you know, my office pays for the bottled water, and I don't mind somebody coming and getting a drink out of it. I just don't have cups. But my employees pay for that out of their pocket. But if somebody needs a drink, I have. But we do need those water fountains really working. I mean, I hate to keep harping on that.
Yeah, no.
But,
that's what we do.
you know, they got their substantial completion and then they stopped.
Yeah, well,
There needs to be a fresh fire
it's
built
because, I don't know, I just, let me get Matt's answer on what, because he asked to have time to go, but he did discuss it with Bobby Yo as to what, everything was in there except the toilet paper dispensers, and I don't know.
I thought I was told that they were in there now. I have not checked.
Okay.
I thought they hadn't hung them 2 weeks ago, Bob's crew did.
I don't know.
Well, but they haven't, are the bathrooms locked up right now?
The ladies, my understanding is cannot be locked. It was open the other day. Somebody had actually opened the door on it, and I don't mind going and checking, but we really need to get those going.
Yeah.
And one other thing is, I have been offered, she will find out today from her commissioner's court, I need flat cabinets. We're looking at $8,000 a piece for these.
Flat,
for the bigger flats. I have been offered from McKinney, she has 3 of them, that if her commissioner's court agrees, will give us. We just have to go pick them up. Marcus Van Grayson enough to say he would go get them. I would like them painted black to match the ones I have. But
What about Walmart, get you some Krylon spray paint?
We'll be doing a lot of furniture, I imagine, with the LEC.
Is your guy in Wichita that did your other? No.
no,
Where's he
out
from?
of Dallas, I believe.
Came out of the Metroplex.
Oh, okay.
But what
Somebody here
I
that-
talked about was, that guy does that electrostatic painting, find out where he is, maybe have him pick those up, or we pick them up, deliver them to him, he paints them there, then we bring them back here instead of,
Are these metal cabinets?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're metal cabinets, they're the big cabinets in my office, and the one she's giving me, the price I just received was for a single one. These are double, and shipping and everything is $7,000. Wow. Yeah. Unless we figure out how to digitize all those records, which I would like to do, but you're looking at a printer, to bring them in and be able to print them out, you're looking at probably $20,000.
Is that how that works, Lori, for offices that go electronic? They still have the capability, they have to reproduce them once you get them
Yes,
scanned?
they can reproduce them, they print them out.
And how does that scan process work? It's just a big scanner
It's a
that?
Printer.
big scanner printer.
Oh, it's combination.
Yes.
That's why you've been offered the cabinets then, is because they're going the other way.
Because most of the counties are going the other way, or the larger counties, let me say that.
yeah, I'm most of them know.
Because it's a lot of money and it takes up a lot of space. They give them to us.
Those
March
cabinets
17th.
take up a little bit of space.
Those cabinets take up a lot of space.
And you have room for them?
I will make room. I don't have a choice. I mean, we've got to do something.
Okay.
So they're giving us like $3,000, $7,000 deals, $1,000,000.
I'll have to buy envelopes for them, but yes.
They're not gonna give us any envelope.
I know.
And they're not going to deliver them?
Our very wealthy county, the wealthiest.
Have a little more money, but I was worried about the water.
You got time this afternoon to go over the polling and stuff? Because we'll need to contact all of those new locations again and tell them they've been selected and.
Make time we can do it. That way I can get her an answer, because I imagine they will have a contested race this year, I don't know.
Somebody said the mayor's race was gonna be contested.
That's what I've heard.
Well, the school board's got several, this is a big year for them, and they will have some retirees and some news that could be contested also.
Now, someone made an announcement this morning, and I don't remember who it was.
School board.
Catherine McGregor, for school board member at large. And our outlying school districts too, there may be.
Yeah, but they do it on in May.
Yeah, that's right, they are. So this is November.
If we go with that, map and somebody chooses later not to be a polling place, what kind of problems is that?
Maybe you don't know.
Okay, so, all right. That's why we need to get it.
She can
verify with all those people.
TV reporter.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Anything else? Okay, it is 11:59 and we're adjourned.